YouTube Ozic going the Go Nows is back, ranking every single first round pick from the 2023 NFL Draft as we are halfway through the season. And more will factor in than just how they've played this year, even though that matters most here. But we do rank rookies every single week in a separate video, updated every week, and that is based on how they are playing. So you can check that out. We have weekly coverage, picks, power rankings, a lot more. So join us, like, subscribe to notifications on, follow us on Twitter, a lot going on there, and there's a link pinned in the comments for that, and our sponsors, Liquid IV, GLD Shop, code GOAT, Viking Exchange from the GLD Shop right here. They have more NFL teams, more jewelry. We have a giveaway going on with them. Again, links pinned in the comments. So ranking, we're going to start from 1 to 31. Remember, there was 31 picks this year. CJ Stroud, the Texans pick of CJ Stroud, the second overall pick, will be ranked number 1. So you see on the bottom, kind of towards the right, kind of my criteria, how I came up with these rankings. Most of it is how they are playing, but we're also, people always say it as well, like it's been half a season. That's not going to determine rookies, futures, their careers, half of their rookie season. So mainly how they're playing is factored in, but also future projection, how these guys look in the future when they get more playing time, they get settled in. We're usually pretty accurate with our evaluations here, so we kind of factor in, our evaluation, future projection, and then pick value too. Where did you pick them? Was it a steal? What type of position did you take? Was it a reach? But mainly we pretty much have to go off of how these players have played. But remember, we are ranking the picks, not the players. There is a slight difference. We do a rookies video, rookie rankings video, which I'm sure you'll be in. If you're watching this video, you'll be interested in that. We do that every week. But the Texans picking CJ Stroud at 2 has got to be number 1. Is the best player in the draft, which we said so before the draft. And they have their franchise quarterback, and more than just a franchise quarterback. I mean, he looks to be the real deal. We're coming off that Buccaneers game where he's breaking records. He's finding ways to win games. Like, he is the reason they're winning games at times. He is the reason the receivers' play is better than expected. So very much impressed with CJ Stroud. I was very high. I was probably higher than anyone on CJ Stroud, but I'm, even impressed. He's just doing things that really aren't supposed to be done. So I'm going to rank that pick first. And I decided to go from 1 to 31. Like draft, usually start at 1, so number 2, I'm going to go with Jalen Carter at pick 9. I mean, one of the better players in the draft. Obviously everyone thought that, and he slides a little bit just because maybe some off the field concerns. It didn't really seem like crazy concerns. Like, I don't know if there was ever a concern where this guy wasn't going to be playing football. I don't know if there was that major of a concern, but they get a super talented player at number 9. He's been a big time problem for opposing offensive lines and quarterbacks already. So great player. We already see that. We can see, he's going to be a great player for a long time as long as he's on the field. And there's some tremendous value in there as well with getting him at 9 instead of, second overall, we'll say. So that's number 2. The Vikings picking Jordan Addison all the way down at 23 is going to be number 3. He's playing like one of the best rookies so far this year. Touchdown machine, has the production, making big plays left and right. The footwork, the separation, plays inside, outside, looking like a mini Justin Jefferson. Maybe that's high praise there, but, not quite. But, I mean, the way he gets separation, the way he gets open, you see some similarities at least. So he's played great. Love the future, playing alongside Justin Jefferson, that Kevin O'Connell offense, and tremendous value getting him down there at number 23. So the Vikings pick will rank number 3 as we are halfway through the year. 4, we'll go with Devin Witherspoon, the Seahawks taking him at pick 5. I mean, he looks fantastic so far this year. We saw it on tape with him, making almost a highlight film, like just flashy plays, laying the boom, making the big time hits, big time plays. But what also, popped up a bit was kind of the whiffs, on those type of plays. But I think he looks better right now than he did in college. I think he looks a little bit more balanced. He's not missing nearly as much. We see him playing inside, outside, see him playing man and zone coverage. He looks a little more balanced in my opinion, based on how he's playing now compared to his tape, and his tape was already good. So he's playing fantastic for the Seattle Seahawks. Looks to be a great one for the future. I guess the only tiny knock, not really much of a knock, but with his play style, how will his durability hold up? I'm not really too worried about near future, but long term, that's really the only thing you can say. And, did they get a tremendous steal or anything? Not really, but they seem to get a really good football player, a really good fit that can help in multiple ways. So I'm going to rank the Seahawks pick 5th overall at number 4. Sounds confusing when I say it that way. Number 5, I'm actually going to go Christian Gonzalez. And Christian Gonzalez hasn't been playing and hasn't played in quite a few weeks. But when he did play, he looked great. He looked as we expected. He looked fantastic. A guy that we know he can play zone. We saw that at Oregon, but we know he can play man because of his athletic ability, his length, his press ability, and we see that with the Patriots. I think the Patriots would have more wins with him right now. I think they lost some games maybe because they didn't have him out there because how he was in coverage, how valuable he was. He locked down Tyreek Hill that 1 week, so he's kind of being that shadow guy already in year 1. So he played great in the short amount of time we saw him. Future, I got no doubts. This guy's a freak athlete with a really good play. Under his belt when it was at Colorado, at Oregon, or even with the Patriots in the short stint there. And the value was, this is maybe the best value pick of the draft, so that does factor in a little bit there. So he might be ranked 2nd if he was still healthy. So him not being out there right now, not being able to see more play, and him having that injury, I guess it's a small concern for the future. Is an injury like that going to pop back up? I guess you could say that, but I know how good this guy is. I think you out there know how good this guy is. I think he's got a good future as long as he's healthy, and again, they got a steal. So I feel confident ranking this the 5th best pick from the 2023 draft. 6, we go Will Anderson, which honestly, maybe he's been a little underwhelming, because Will Anderson, the guy that racked up how many sacks for Alabama, and he's the 3rd overall pick. Maybe he expected more sacks, but he's still a very good football player. He's got some sacks. He's got a lot of pressure. He's winning his reps. He's helping in the, stopping the run. He even has a field goal block this year. So I like the future. He's good right now. Maybe he's not as good right now as we thought he would be right now. But you can see the future as well. These pressures, these wins against the tackles he's going up against are going to turn into more sacks. There is no doubt. So played well right now. Really excited about his future. They got him 3rd overall. So I ranked that pick for the Texans number 6. So they have number 1 and number 6. Pretty good. Number 7 goes Zay Flowers, which the Ravens got him down at 22. He looks to be, and there's some games where he's a little quiet, maybe, and you definitely want to get him more involved in the red zone. Getting touchdowns a little more often. So maybe that's what's keeping him from being higher. But he looks very solid for them. He looks very solid. But I kind of factor in future as well because there's a lot of question marks at the receiver position when it comes to future of the Baltimore Ravens. Odell's not a 1-year deal, not going to be around forever. He's not doing much right now. Anyways, Rashad Bateman, how much longer is he going to last? He's been underwhelming. Nelson Aguilar's kind of a year-to-year type guy. So having him and him being good right now is huge for the future. So that future aspect is huge here. And a pretty solid value down at number 22. So Zay Flowers, the Ravens pick of Zay Flowers comes in at number 7 halfway through the year. Number 8, going to go Jahmyr Gibbs. Yeah, you wonder about pick value, especially at the time, because you take a running back at pick 12, and some people thought, is he a first-round pick? I like Gibbs. I was a big Gibbs fan since Georgia Tech, so I liked him as a first-round pick, but you did feel like 12, maybe was a little early for just a running back, but it ends up not being early for a guy of Gibbs' caliber. He looks great, looks fantastic right now. They go back to 12 and get him. That kind of adds to the value. But he looks fantastic as a runner, as a pass catcher. He complements David Montgomery so well. And Montgomery has that injury concern right now and in the past. So just having another big-time back that's like a little bit different, change of a pace, change of how defenses defend you, I think is huge. So, and I think he's going to be pretty damn good for a while. Bama didn't really overuse him. So I think he's going to be, this is a guy that, the Lions are never going to give him 30 carries a game. And that's perfect, So you could say with those guys, those types of running backs don't, they don't get 20, 25, 30 carries a game. That they're kind of devalued. You don't take them as high. So you could say, why was he taking it high? But he's so much involved in other ways, catching the ball out of the backfield, downfield as well. So this looks like a really good pick for the Lions. So I will rank the Lions for picking him at 8. Number 9, I'm going to go Peter Skoronski for the Titans, who looks, we knew he was kind of a sure thing, but he looks like a sure thing, looks really solid at the guard position. So that was a good pick. Could be a Pro Bowler in the future. Maybe he isn't wowing right now, but I don't know if offensive linemen tend to do that. The Titans badly need offense. They still need offensive line, but having that guard spot and the guy that's versatile enough to play tackle if you need him to, I don't know if they really want to do that. Though. They just want to keep him at guard. But having that set, you don't have to worry about that. You can worry about the rest of the offensive line, but having that is huge here. So it's a good pick now. It's really good for the future. Got him at pick 11, so I will rank the Titans pick at number 9. Number 10, we'll go with Deonte Banks going to the Giants at pick 24. That was one of my favorite fits on draft day because he's a big-time man coverage guy with, I thought, upside, in zone coverage. The Giants run a ton of man. They're trying to mix in a little bit more zone. They're trying, so I thought it was a perfect fit. He started a little slow, just a little slow from the start, but he's been picking it up recently for the most part. And he was a freak athlete, really didn't stand out in tape until the last year of his college career at Maryland. So he was kind of known. He wasn't like one of the high end when you rank raw prospects, maybe he wasn't at the top, but he was up there in terms of a raw. His best play is definitely in front of him, is what I'm trying to say. So for him to be playing pretty well right now and him to have a good fit, a good home with the Giants, I think it's pretty solid. They got him at pick 24, so I ranked that number 10. Number 11, we'll go Dalton Kincaid. Really good fit with the Bills. It kind of opened up their playbook. It really added to their playbook. Kind of gave them a variety of different different ways to win, and that's kind of showing right now, especially with Dawson Knox out. I mean, it kind of showed before with him out, so they use him in different ways, outside, inside, in lines. You could also use them, so it's looking like a good pick, and wherever they go, because there's been some criticism on the play caller, so wherever they go with that direction, I think this is a guy that can fit any system to any playbook, any coordinator. So I think that's huge as well. So getting him at pick 25 is pretty good. He's looking pretty solid right now. Did have a fumble in his last game, but he's been very, very productive. So I will rank the Bills pick at number 11. Next, who I ranked 12 was the Bears picking Darnell Wright. They take a lot of heat for not taking Jalen Carter. And again, that could factor in a little bit, but it's nowhere near as bad as teams passing on C.J. Stroud for another quarterback, or some of those receivers, passing on Jordan Addison, we'll say, so it's nowhere near like that. They got a good right tackle. It feels like, with this addition, their tackle duo is pretty much set for the future. A lot of upside there. They're playing fairly well. Wright's had his bad moments, but he's had his really good moments as well. Really solid as a run blocker, which we knew that. Tennessee's blocking scheme was pretty different. Their play style was a lot different than the NFL. So he's also, a guy going to the Bears, still has a lot to learn and adjust to. For him to be playing pretty solid right now is ideal. It's very much ideal. He does kind of fit those play styles where the Justin Fields type plays that really work. He'll actually fit the blocking schemes more on those. So that's the only thing. So were they banking on him working with Justin Fields working, so him to work? That's kind of the only question there. Maybe them passing on Jalen Carter. But I like Darnell Wright a lot. I think he's got a lot of upside as he learns kind of more of the pro blocking schemes here. Everybody wants to run West Coast, and so a lot of outside zone blocking. He has room to grow with that. That's where he needs work, and he's done a pretty good job for not doing a lot of it at Tennessee. So I see some upside on top of him playing fairly well so far. So I rank the Bears 12 for taking him 10th overall. Next, we'll go with Brian Bruzzi. The Saints took him down at 29. The concern with him was his injury concern. Hasn't really popped up much already, but some minor things. Talk about calf injury they didn't end up being that worried about. So that's really the only thing with him. Will those things pop up? Will it become more serious? But he's played very well, and the Saints lost interior defenders. So having a guy like that's pretty big. I guess the one knock right now is I wish he played more snaps. He's probably their best interior guy, but they really split a lot of snaps, so that's kind of the one thing. But you also don't want an interior guy playing 70% of snaps, so it's really not what I'm asking for. Just a little bit more, and a little bit more should come. But he's been playing pretty well there for the Saints, and they got him all the way down at 29, just about staying healthy when it comes to Bruzzi. 14, we'll go with Bijan Robinson. Now, this is an interesting one because how they have played, he's probably better than 14 because he's played pretty well, even though recently it's been disappointing. He sat out of one game because he's feeling a little sick or a headache. I don't know what that was. And then been a little underwhelming in terms of snaps, reps, actually touching the ball, and then fumbled in the last game. But even with that, he's out of all these rookies, he's probably been better than 14. But you do factor in other things here. You do factor in that Algier looks better. You factor in that they used an 8th overall pick on who is essentially their second best running back right now. And then you do factor in the pick value, which you take a running back at 8. It's already questionable no matter how good he is. And now, again, you took him at 8 and you could have used something else. If you take a running back that high, he damn right better be really good. He better be that guy he's supposed to be, that Pro Bowl running back or close to right away. And he's really not close to that. And I know people are kind of complaining at Arthur Smith that Bijan doesn't play more, but at the same time, if you're watching, you can see Robinson has way more athletic ability than Algier, but Algier overall looks better. He's hitting the hole better. He's getting more yards after contact. He's getting those, getting those extra yards on the crucial plays, a little bit better. So they're trusting him more. So that's kind of the tough part. Bijan Robinson talent level says better than 14, but you do have to factor in some other things here. So people starting to question, should they have gone in a more important direction at pick 8? Than going Bijan Robinson, but a talented guy that should be very talented, now and in the future. So 14 still a pretty good rank. 15, we go Anton Harrison, who was a 27th pick for the Jags. He looks pretty solid. He struggled against TJ Watt. Shocker, not a big deal. It's still part of it, though. He struggled a little bit, but he's looked pretty solid. And when they took him on draft day, I said it's a pretty good fit. There was some, similar concepts from Oklahoma. They ran a ton of RPO, ton of read option, and there's a different blocking scheme when it comes to that. There isn't a whole lot of NFL teams that run that, but Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence and that offense, they will run some of that. We saw it when Doug Peterson was in Philly too. That was a big part of them winning the Super Bowl with Nick Foles. So we knew that right away. Isn't the sexiest pick, but it's a pretty good fit. It's probably the best landing spot for Anton Harrison, and he's kind of been a plug-and-play guy for them at right tackle. So he's been pretty solid. He hasn't been great, but he's been solid. He's a good fit. It was pretty much a safe pick down there at 27, so I'll rank him at 15. Next, we got Paris Johnson Jr., another offensive lineman. Pick 6, you do wonder, should the Cardinals stayed put, or should they have got of one of those bigger, better players that are showing out right now? So that is a small question there. Paris Johnson Jr. was looking really good to start. In the last 3 or 4 games, he struggled a little bit, I've noticed. A lot different than the first games. And he's played better competition, but still, I thought it was a pretty decent difference. He'll get Kyler Murray back now, and that could help. Having a better quarterback could definitely help. But if we ended up doing these rankings a few weeks ago, he might have been better ranked because there's quite a difference in how he was playing earlier rather than later. But then you do wonder about the value. Should they have stayed put, got a bigger, better player that are currently showing out right now. But I'll rank him 16. He still looks like a pretty good player and should be to protect Kyler Murray for a long time or whoever the quarterback's going to be. 17, we'll go Bryce Young. Somewhat of a tricky one to rank because he's been playing pretty bad. And we're coming off the game where he had 3 interceptions. He had 2 pick sixes. There's a lot of panic to his game right now, which I don't love. The footwork, the decisions in the pocket, when and when not, and how to escape pressure. That's probably been the worst part of his game right now. So he's playing pretty bad. He's probably not playing at 17 based on how they're playing, but he was the first pick for a reason. The talent is still there. He can throw the ball. He's accurate with the ball. He has arm strength with the ball. He can move. I love these things. These are things you can work with. And the Panthers roster isn't the best, and I'm not a big make excuses for quarterbacks guy, but it is a small part. I think he'll play better with development and with the team getting better, but good quarterbacks do find ways, no matter the talent around him. The Texans weren't supposed to have a lot of talent, so I'm not going to go big on that part, but he will get better with just his progression and with the Panthers getting better. So a lot of him being, not being worse than 17 is kind of trust the process. I thought C.J. Stroud was better the whole way, and he is better. It's pretty much a fact at this point. So, but trust the process. He was a top pick for a reason. He has talent. The talent is there. It's not going to disappear. He had talent in Alabama. Again, not going to disappear. But, so I'm not really worried about the future. Right now I'm gonna get on him. I'm gonna rip him a little bit because some of these things should not be happening, and I don't like that they're happening. But the future should be there. But it is a little, how do I put this? It is a little scarier when we're talking about future with him. Before it was like, yeah, there could be struggles now. There is struggles now. I'm not really worried about the future. Now, I'm still going to stay optimistic and say he's going to get better. The talent is in there somewhere. We know that. But in the back of our minds, I think you can agree out there, with me out there that, maybe there's, I don't want to say there's doubt, but there's a little more doubt. Like the percentage of doubt is a little more up, but it's not high. That's the best way to put it because of some of these things. Like he's panicking when he shouldn't panic, or even when he does, and he just whips and blindly throws it. He's scrambling like a maniac, and sometimes he doesn't need to, or sometimes goes. It's like there's some things like that. It's like that's like up here, and sometimes you don't fix those things. But let's get him to calm down. Maybe the nerves are still there. It's still only halfway through the year, so we'll rank him 17 based on this year. Like play alone, he probably wouldn't be 17, like I said. But talent's in there somewhere. Talent is in there somewhere, but you do got to knock them for not taking C.J. Stroud. I was knocking him at the time. I'm going to knock him even more now. But we still think this has got to be a good player here. So that's a tough one to rank. Anthony Richardson we'll talk about in a little bit. That's even tougher to rank. But 18 will go Broderick Jones. And this is an interesting one because you may say, how do you rank Broderick Jones 18 when he didn't start the year? He only has 200, not even 200 snaps played. How do you rank him 18? That's pretty disappointing. I understand your point. I understand the point. It's somewhat valid, but this is all part of the process right here. If you followed us during the pre-draft process, what were my takes on Broderick Jones as the most raw prospect in the draft? If this guy struggles early on, don't be surprised. He's got a ton of upside. He's got to hit it, though. I said that over and over again. I think my takes on Broderick Jones in terms of that, like the evaluation, what schemes he fits, where he has to grow. I think I was dead on Broderick Jones. I think that was one of my better takes. I thought some people like it, their takes on people I trust too. Their evaluation on him, I felt like they didn't even watch the tape. That's because I did not see it at all. Like where they think he'll fit and things like that. But he's starting to play now. He's starting to play a lot more. He's starting now. I thought he did very well in the Titans game. This is all part of the plan here. Now, we can't rank him super high because, yeah, he didn't start some games. It still factors in a little bit, even though it's part of the plan, and he could be playing better. I think he's going to start playing better like he kind of is. But trust the process with a guy like Broderick Jones. Georgia, didn't really – I don't think they really ran the blocking schemes that fit him the best. I think what the Steelers are doing makes more sense for him. He's just got to learn it. He's got to go. And he had some like young tendencies, mistakes with Georgia, and he barely had any snaps. He had the least amount of snaps played out of all of the tackles in the draft. It all is part of the plan here. I don't love they traded up for him. At the time, I didn't love that, but they kind of had to go. They had to get their guy. I would have preferred them to get Christian Gonzalez still when he was there, but again, this is all part of the plan. Broderick Jones should have a bright future still. I will rank him 18. I was very happy with my evaluation on him in pre-draft. I think I did a really good job. I usually do sound like I'm patting myself on the back. Kind of am. Usually do a pretty good job with the draft. I think we did a hell of a job this year, too. Anthony Richardson's impossible to rank. Well, not impossible. I did it. He's 19. But, man, how he looked when he played, he looked like Anthony Richardson. He looked like the accuracy was a little bit of an issue, which is okay because that he's got to clean up his footwork. He's an upside guy. He's one of the more raw prospects in the draft. We just talked about one of Broderick Jones. Richardson was probably second, I think, if I had to rank him. So it all made he was okay. Let's go back up a little bit. So the games he played, I actually think he was probably ahead of schedule. I thought he actually impressed me a little bit more than I thought. A little bit, nothing crazy, because he was making some big boy throws that maybe I didn't expect him to make. And there was actually some drops, too, that I thought were really good throws. Again, he was a little inconsistent on the accuracy, which was expected, but, will that be fixed? Sometimes you can't fix it with quarterbacks. A lot of time you can't, but I was optimistic with him. But there were times where it's like, yeah, Gardner Minshew, they're better with him, and that's still okay. And there's times they probably be better with Richardson. There's moments that go both ways. But then, he gets multiple injuries in a very little amount of time. And that plays a factor here because we're not seeing all of him and how his play style goes into that, and how does that affect the future? Is he going to continue to get beat up? Now, I will say, optimism, we keep maybe the benefit of the doubt in a lot of these spots. We'll say, maybe he learns to slide earlier, maybe he doesn't run as much, but the run opens up the pass with him at the same time. But still, staying optimistic, maybe he learns to avoid more contact, and then he can continue to grow as a passer. But the latest injury, and the injury that's holding out for the year, is a shoulder injury where he had surgery on his shoulder on his throwing arm. That factor, put that on top of all these injuries he had in a short amount of time. So, looking at future, it's a guy that I think has a bright future, but it's a guy, that's the biggest thing here. He is a guy that needs reps to fix his issues, to reach his upside, which is a high upside, but he has a lot of work to do with it. And for a guy that already has durability concerns and a guy that is not getting his reps in the rookie year, it's going to hurt his future a little bit. Surgery on the throwing shoulder, going to hurt his future a little bit. The Colts, maybe, if they have an opportunity, maybe they, and they don't trust his health, they might have to look for another quarterback. That hurts Anthony Richardson's future. That's kind of a very, very tiny part of it, but so it's kind of back and forth. Again, I like his play. I like his upside if he's on the field. He impressed me. It's hard to say impressed because he still had a lot of things to work on, and it was such a small sample size, tiny bit. I thought he was maybe a tiny bit ahead of schedule for me, but until the injuries, so it hurts his future a little bit. So we rank him 19. He's very tough to rank because there's just back and forth, but the injuries and the type of injury that ended it does not look great, I guess we'll say. Kalijah Kancey at number 20. He was picked 19, so right around there. He's looking pretty good. He's getting after the quarterback pretty well. He missed quite a few games to start, and that kind of his knock was undersized, and when offensive linemen have him, he struggles to get off it. But when he wins with that first step, he wins good in a big way. So. But him, having that injury and missing some games doesn't really go with the negatives. I mean, it goes with it, but in a bad way for him. So will he stay healthy? There's really nothing there that says he'll continue to get hurt, but kind of thing with him. I did like the Bucs defensive line, better the way they were playing, with a guy like Greg Gaines, but you get more of a pass rush with Kancey, but. They'll be at number 20. It's another tricky one there. We'll rank the Bucs at 20. 21 will go Myles Murphy. This one I think is all part of the plan as well. It's kind of a trust the process here. I love this pick. This was one of my favorite steals of the first round because this is a tremendous pass rusher from Clemson, but he is a high upside guy. This guy's very, very young. He's got a lot of, right now he's already a natural getting after the quarterback using his power. He's got that get off. You just kind of teach him some pass rush moves, which can be developed. You cannot develop get off. You cannot develop, I don't think you really can develop strength. He's either a guy, can add it or has it or he doesn't. But you can work with a guy in moves and, time in the NFL. So that's why he's a high upside guy. He's a guy that if you don't see a lot right away, it's okay. But he's also behind stud pass rushers in the Bengals, and he's had limited snaps. I thought he looked pretty decent in those limited snaps that he got, but I think he's one for the future. The Bengals know what they're doing here. He's going to plug in and play. Now, years from now, I'll be talking about this, and he'll be ranked much better in 21. I'm pretty confident with that. But a big factor in this, really, what we had to have a big factor was how they've played, and we haven't seen a whole lot of him, but there's a reason for it, and it's good. It's good things. So, but I like that we factored in other things here. So he'll rank at 21. I'm excited about his future still very much. Nothing has changed with Myles Murphy and the Bengals here. 22, Jackson Smith and Jigba. If this was a few weeks ago, like 4 weeks ago, I would actually, and we saw less of him then, I probably would have ranked him higher because I would have went, this is all part of the plan. The Seahawks used 2 receivers on the field at once, a ton. So they kind of stashed him behind. That's why he wasn't getting production. So being the future Tyler Lockett, replacement. So it all kind of made sense. But now he's actually got a little bit more playing time, and he does have flashy plays here and there, but has some drops, but a little bit more playing time recently. I thought he'd be doing more, and a guy like Jake Bobo's get more playing time, and he actually is doing more than Jackson Smith and Jigba. So that's a little odd. I'm not doubting his future at all. He's a good ball player. There was health concerns too, and that was kind of into the season too, so there's that. You got to factor that in a little bit, but I think he'll be, if he'll eventually replace Tyler Lockett, and he'll be a pretty good ball player. But Yeah, there are some things, you wish you'd be doing a little bit more right now. So, why is a guy like Bobo looking better than him? So, it is a little tough, and it looks like there are some better receivers in the class, so I rank him 22. 23, we'll go Will McDonald, and this might surprise some people as well. I mean, we are towards the bottom. There was 31 picks, but Will McDonald is sometimes a healthy scratch, doesn't really play at all for the Jets. He has some snaps here and there, so people will question it, but we're down here in the bottom part where there's guys that are playing a little bit and they're not playing well, and there's guys that aren't really playing. I'd rather, rank Will McDonald over the other, out of those options because I think he has a future. The downside on that is he was one of the older prospects. So if he's one of the older prospects, you're not really banking on future. You want him to play now. But look at Jermaine Johnson. He was very underwhelming last year. Look at what he's doing now. He's fantastic. He's behind him. He's behind Bryce Huff, who looks fantastic, who's a young guy as well and just getting going. They got a lot of pass rushers in there. It's part of the plan for Robert Saleh. Will McDonald fits his defense, even though he's not playing a lot. It's because he has other guys that fit his defense, but he fits his defense so well. We knew that at the time. His tape was very good. So I think this is part of the plan here. Look at Jermaine Johnson. I think it's part of the plans, but it is you do question a little bit. I don't feel as confident as Jermaine Johnson, but so I think we'll bank on future a little bit, but he is ranked 23, for a reason there. 34, I put Jack Campbell, which, I thought it was a reach at the time, pick 18 for a guy that I thought could have went second or third round. It's not a premium position. A lot of these linebackers that are stars of the NFL, you're finding in 2, 3, 4. It's not nearly the most important position in football. How many linebackers, are the reason their team's winning. You look at that, you have Fred Warner. There's not too many guys that are consistent like that. So in terms of value of the pick, in terms of the reach on my board at least, and then in terms of the value of the position, that's kind of where you question it on draft day. So if you reach for a guy and you take that position, he damn well better be starting over Derek Barnes. Especially, I don't care who you have at linebacker, you damn well better be starting and he better be good. So that was kind of the issue to start the year because he was not starting over Derek Barnes. He actually was not starting over, he wasn't playing more than Derek Barnes until 2 weeks ago. So that was kind of an issue. Even though he had flashes when he played, it's still like you overdraft him, you took a non-premium position 18, he better freaking be good. He better be better than Derek Barnes. So, if we did this a few weeks ago, he probably would have been ranked worse than this, but he is playing more right now. And again, he'll have like a flashy pass deflection, something like that in coverage here and there, but still needs to play better. And, it's a guy that even I expected more from if you were going to take him at 18. And then, he started playing at the Ravens game and he played the last 2 games. It's, I don't know if it was actually better, the defense, when he played more in that Ravens game either. So again, he'll have a moment here and there. I think he'd be a good player in the future, but I still question. You still got to question the pick, the value of the pick in this one. So I'll rank him 24. I'll rank the Lions 24 for that pick. 25, Nolan Smith, who we still think has a lot of upside. He's a guy, if given the opportunity, can get after the quarterback. He hasn't had too many opportunity, but the Eagles do have a pretty deep defensive line. Well, the interior doesn't factor in at all with Nolan Smith, just the edge. So they do have somewhat of a deep edge. Derek Barnett has more snaps on him on the year, which is a little surprising to me. He's starting to get a little bit more snaps now, but there was injury concern going on with him, coming in. So what happens when he gets full snaps and then in preseason he had a minor thing pop up? People were shocked, like he went 30th, like people couldn't believe it. It was exactly what I expected. It did not surprise me at all. So we need to see more of him. I'm surprised we actually haven't seen more because if he's talented enough, the Eagles would not be afraid to put him in there. But I do think he's talented. He has a lot of upside as long as he's healthy. Maybe he could put on a little more size. So it's maybe part of the plan here with him. Just need to see a lot more. We're going to rank him 25, or not him. We're going to rank the Eagles pick 25. We'll rank Tyree Wilson at 26, which he's actually starting to get going a little bit more. He played pretty well in that Giants game. He's starting to get his snaps back because he had them, then he lost them. Now he's kind of getting them back again. So, and there is a new, Antonio Pierce is leading the way, but they still got Patrick Graham out there, who's a good defensive coordinator. But I said it before the draft. It's a boom or bust prospect, and how is he going to boom? You have to use him the right way. You got to use him as a versatile piece. You have to move him around a bit. So they haven't really done that. I want them to do that more. That's how he'll hit his upside. You wish he was had more snaps. He's starting to get it, but you wish he had more snaps. You wish he was not as underwhelming, playing opposite of Max Crosby. So, and you picked him all the way up at 7. Again, he's getting going. He is talented. The talent is in there. Hopefully they use him in different ways going forward. Again, he's starting to pick it up. But again, he was picked all the way up at 7, where there was a ton of talented guys. So we're going to rank him we're going to rate that pick at 26. 27, we'll rank Emmanuel Forbes, which I hate them pick, it factored in. They picked him over Christian Gonzalez. What I've been saying for years, the Commanders are different when it comes to the draft. I've predicted this pick for them exactly. And I predicted them to pick Jamin Davis, and both those were considered surprises. They were not surprises to me. They are not surprises because the Commanders make surprising picks. They decide who they are taking before the draft, and they no matter what happens, who falls, they will pick. They did the same thing with Dotson as well. He's a pretty good player, but they were like, these receivers are starting to fall, but we still want our guy. Let's trade back. Let's get him because we decided on our guy. It's what they do. So it's a questionable approach to the draft. I wouldn't be doing that. And they did it again here. Forbes is he's a good playmaker. He's very athletic. I do think he's got talent and he's got a future. He has struggled. He even got benched. He played well last week against the Patriots. Still only played like 70% of the snaps. Lined up in different spots. And this guy to me needs to be an outside corner, though. He needs to show out there. If they had Christian Gonzalez and if he was healthy, he'd be much better. So it did feel like a little bit of a reach, and it did feel like they took maybe the wrong corner in that situation. So, and you don't like that he got a decrease in snaps and actually got benched. But he does have a bright future. But what made him so good at Mississippi State is playmaking ability. He continually got his hands on the ball. Some of it was luck, but he just found a way to get his hands on the ball. So he kind of relies on that happening. Like he'll be beat, but he'll make that play. So he needs to make those plays. He needs to make those plays consistently. Needs to stay on the field. So we'll rank him 27. 28 out of 31 go Quentin Johnston. Yeah, just a big miss. He's an upside guy too. He has a future. He's got talent in there somewhere. There's some things he definitely has to work on. Our prospect evaluation, pre-draft evaluation, I'd say, is looking pretty dead on him so far. And then he got some production going 2 weeks ago. With Josh Palmer out on top of Mike Williams, we thought we would see more of him in the Jets game, and we didn't really see any. But I guess they had a lead. But 2 games ago, they were getting the ball underneath. That's the thing with him, though. You just kind of got to scheme something little open for him and get him the ball because he's pretty good after the catch. But you need him to be more of a downfield guy. You need him to attack the ball more. You need him to separate more. You need him to get on the field more. Sometimes sometimes Darius Davis is getting it, not recently, but getting on the field more than him. So it doesn't really make sense. And I thought one of my favorite fits before the draft was Jordan Addison with the Chargers. Just a type of receiver they've been missing that they need, that they just don't have because they got Big Mike on the outside. They got Keenan Allen, who's that balanced receiver. Possession receiver, route runner. Get Jordan Addison, that speed guy that could play inside, outside. I was shocked when they didn't take Jordan Addison, and it looks like a big miss not taking him. Or Zay Flowers, you could say, but really Jordan Addison there. So you take like a poor man's version of Mike Williams, and Mike Williams is out, and he still really can't kind of figure out how to get things going. Maybe the time's coming because Mike Williams is out, Josh Palmer's on IR. I'm going to miss 3 more games, so we got to see him do something, but I don't want to say it's looking like a miss because he does have a future. We got to still see in the future, but it looks like a miss, not taking another receiver. So he'll be ranked 28. 29, going to go Lucas Van Ness, was picked all the way up at 13. Now, again, another guy that has some upside, could be the future Preston Smith, can take over. A lot of tools to work with here, but I thought he was like a late first, early second type guy, and the knock on him and why he was a risky pick was he was a backup at Iowa. I know other people say there's reasons for that, but at the end of the day, he was a backup at Iowa, and I know he played a lot of snaps, but he was a guy that was a specific situational guy, like, rotational guy, like, and he would, a lot of his best play, like his best moments on tape were actually lined up inside. And against college guards. And I said it at the time, like he was not going to be able to do this against NFL guards, maybe here and there. Like he's going to have to be an edge rusher. And he's got traits to be an edge rusher. And he has moments there, but what he was kind of a backup, that high motor backup that is really good at specific situational football, and that is happening right now. Like, that's what he is still. He's got the 4th most snaps on the Packers, and he played pretty well against the Rams last week. Like, he actually has some okay play when he actually sees the field, but that's what he is. He's going to come in and make, and that's okay, but not if you pick him 13th over. That's the main problem here. You pick the guy that he is what he is. He is what he is, and he could become more. Not saying he won't be, but he's a situational type rotation guy, and that, again, that's fine. But at 13, and even I thought, and I knew that was him. So everything I said is kind of happening. But even with that, I thought he'd be getting way more snaps right now. I thought they would almost force it. And then Agbari is even playing more than him right now, so he's 4th, and he's a decent player. But he's 4th on that list of their pass rushers. So I'm going to rank him 29. A big part of this was they took him 13th overall, and that was my problem on draft day. But again, a fun player, has some future, so we'll see. Ranked 30 was the 31st overall pick, Felix Udike Uzama, the Kansas State pass rusher to the Chiefs. I didn't think he was a first-round player, but he was picked 30th. My issue with him was getting off blocks, and that's kind of been the issue when he was playing with the Chiefs. He looks physical at times, but not when the tackle is on him. Not when he's being blocked. He cannot, and that's the biggest knock we had on him when we watched the tape. And that's the biggest knock now. And he's completely lost his snaps. He was actually playing a decent amount early. He's completely lost it. There's players like not the big. They lose Frank Clark, so they're going to be like, okay, we got to draft Uzama here. So that's what we're going to do to kind of replace him. And maybe it's not a right away replacement, so there still is future with him. He could be a good ball player. The Chiefs are pretty good at developing guys, so don't get me wrong there. But now he's losing snaps to guys that aren't really the biggest name guys on the planet as well. So that's a tough part there. But I mean, a guy that's picked 31st should it makes sense to be ranked around 30 here. And then coming in, unfortunately, last 31 was Mozzie Smith, the Cowboys pick at 26, which I thought was a reach at the time. I thought he was a late second, early third, even though other people thought maybe early or mid second. I thought like later second, because I didn't, when I watched his tape, I didn't think he was much of an impact. Like, if there's a running back running by him in the hole, he's pretty good, as he should be. A guy that could play nose tackle or D tackle, he should be. I didn't see enough, I didn't see enough, which I want to see from defensive tackles. I didn't see enough of a backfield play, pocket play. I didn't see enough, in the passing, good run stuffer, but it's really just kind of clogging lanes. So there was nothing that to me that said first round pick. That's where I was at with him. So I thought the Cowboys, I thought it was clearly a reach. But it's kind of like the Lions situation with Campbell. So if you reach for a guy, and again, you're kind of lacking on the interior, you're not awful, but you're not great, and you reach for a guy because you felt like you needed that guy and you overvalued him, he better be on the field, and he better be playing pretty well. He better be on the field a lot, better be starting, better be playing pretty well, because that's what you did. So he's not getting many snaps. He's 4th on the interior defensive line list when it comes to snaps for the Cowboys. Right there, that's not great. I thought when he did play, he was struggling to get off blocks. Guys were pushing him back. And again, he's kind of just a gap player. That's really what he is. It's the same thing on tape. He's kind of an upside guy, though. I thought if he learned pass rush moves, and if he learned to kind of shed guys, get in the backfield more, he can get going. And you can teach those things. So it's okay. He has upside. He has upside still. But a lot of the things that we said, that we saw, and what we said pre-draft and on draft day are kind of evident, like they're kind of there right now. So I do think it's a little bit of a reach. I think somebody else could be helping the Cowboys a bit more right now. So I'll rank that one at 31. So that is how I will rank the first round picks. Remember, it's more of so ranking picks, not players. We rank rookies just purely based on how they play every single week, top 10, and we mentioned a couple more. So that's a little different. You can check that out if you're looking for that type of video every week. But we factor in a little bit more things, because it's kind of lame to judge only off of how they've played right now when we're grading picks, because picks are about future. They're not just about right now. So I thought that made a lot of sense. I think people will be happy about that. Some people that don't listen to me talk will be confused and they'll complain in the comments, but I don't think you're allowed to complain if you don't listen to what I say and explain things. So, Yeah, there we had to add that last take in there. But that'll do it for this one. Thanks everyone for watching. We have all kinds of content like this, but other weekly coverage as well with picks and more on the channel. So like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Follow us on Twitter. A lot going on there. If you want to yell at me about something, go to Twitter. I'll respond. Unless it's complete gibberish, I suppose. But links pinned in the comments for that and our sponsors. That's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.